you three of my like of all the people that I interact with, you are like so intensely engaged all the time. I mean, and we have so much fun just in terms of getting ready for this event, right? I was trying to work. I was actually trying to do my day job, and you guys are chatting and we have our little organizational thing, and you guys are chatting, and I can't like physically get anything done because the chat just keeps going and going and going and going. So welcome to the Hotness Unleashers show, episode 7. We have Neela and Robert Younger and Nick. Now, Nick, I'm going to go with Sherigian. Is that more, are we good there? Or is it Sherigian or Share? Okay, we're going to go with Sherigian. I'm going to roll with that. All right, so welcome everybody. And so a couple of housekeeping things I got to take care of first, and we'll go ahead and do that right now. So first off, our sponsor today is Infuse Media, my employer, right? So Infuse Media is an award-winning, fully integrated data-fueled demand generation engine designed to help B2B organizations drive qualified interest. Our omni-channel approach helps us identify, qualify, and produce actionable engagement and deliver results for our, sorry, that was a gaffe on my part, for our clients, right? So in any case, this is it's my little video in the background, right? So I want to speak to this, right? So part of my entire motivation here is to learn how to use these platforms, right? As kind of a standalone at-home guy who does everything himself, I'm figuring this out, right? And so how to make a little video as a promo with these little flashing lights was a thing that I had to deal with last night, literally. And in any case, that's kind of the world that I live in, and want to say welcome to our event, and Infuse Media is an official sponsor. So the other thing I want to cover here is that oh, shit. All right, hang on. We're just gonna pretend that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Okay, that didn't happen. So the other thing I want to cover here is that hotness unleashing, all right, that is a thing, right? And I defined it as paying attention to other people and their work in an intentional way, right? And when we do that, I say it unleashes hotness, right? It feels good, right? The sweetest sound that anybody can hear is the sound of their own name, and that's the point, right? It's like stop talking about ourselves, start talking about other people. And I can see that Nick thinks that that's pretty funny. So I am here just to say thanks for coming and to welcome y'all to the table and to introduce, Robert, Nick, and Neela. And hey guys, introduce yourselves real quick. Tell me what you got. What brings you back to LinkedIn every week? Robert, why don't you start?
Sure. Thanks, Trevor. Robert Younger. I'm a person that works in fintech. If you want to read about all the stuff I do, just check my bio. But one of the things that I'm working on today is I'm pursuing a doctorate degree at University of Southern California. So I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn connecting with people that are different from me. That's really what I'm seeking out, is differing viewpoints, differing opinions, and people that I can engage as I go through the research process of completing my doctorate degree. So that's a big part of the reason why I show up on a regular basis, is to find points of view that are different from my own. And that's exactly what I've been able to do for the last couple of months, and will continue to do.
So now your doctorate's is it education, or what? I mean, what is
so
that?
It's an education doctorate, but it's in organizational change and leadership. And most people's doctorates are in one of two things, either in education or philosophy, which in a way is sort of the same thing. One is the execution and one is more the thinking about it side of the equation. But all in all, it's really not that different.
Okay. Gotcha. So why USC of all places? I mean, and are you going there in real life at all, or?
Yeah, I hear you. As a Coug, that's got to cut a little bit.
I have a little backstory there. My son was actually admitted to USC as an undergrad and went down there and all that. So we're kind of familiar with it. But yes, the Trojans. Yeah, come on. I mean,
so for me, I'm originally a Kentucky guy. So I'm University of Kentucky undergrad. They play some college football today. I'm okay. I did my MBA at Washington State University, so go Cougs. Yep. But the University of Southern California has some premier programs, and this happens to be one of the best, and that's what I was looking for, and wanted something that was on West Coast time zone so that I didn't have to take class at really super odd hours. I do a lot of remote because today's day and age, means that we can do things in a hybrid and remote way. And USC is one of the first schools, along with Washington State, to be really fully on board with that. And so I would say 90% of what I do is remote, but I do go down there. I do have interactions with professors and people from my cohort, and it's pretty cool. It's a great hybrid model, and we get together for things of purpose, but the rest of the time you're really on your own. Which is what I appreciate.
Now, how much longer is it before you get your degree?
Forever.
Okay. As long as we know. Right.
It's probably about a year and a half, 2 years, in that range.
Okay. All right.
So
all right.
partly depends on how well I write and how quickly they approve that. So
we can count on you hanging around with us on LinkedIn for another year and a half or so?
Sure. Yeah.
Give or take. Right. All right. At least in this, because I'm going to assume that you're like in the same, same universe. Like it's just going to kind of continue on until you enter into.
I'm not going anywhere. I've had a LinkedIn account since 2003, but I was never really active with it until late July of this year. So it just sat there as a place to collect digital business cards, so to speak.
Yeah. And, or not, right?
And,
or not.
And that was it, right?
Yeah,
like that was
totally.
Pretty much all I did was people that I met in real life, and it's like, oh, we should connect. And it was a way to make sure that you had somebody's info and could reach out to them in some way.
Yeah, totally. I 100% get that. I think that story is so common on this platform. It's a joke. I'm always so envious of folks who say, I just showed up. I just started my brand new account. I have Amara Murphy is a new connect of mine. She reached out, I don't know, a while back, and she had like 9 followers at that time. 9. And it was so much fun. It was like, oh yeah, like you're just literally a baby on this platform. And you have like no idea of all this history and all this sort of angst. Like, oh, I thought I was going to get a job, or I thought this was going to happen, or I thought somebody was going to. No, didn't happen. Right? You have to like actually make it happen. So,
yeah, they're like a cute fuzzy chick on the farm, and
I know they are. You just want to love them, and all that great stuff. All right, so Neela, what? Give us your 1-2, and then we're gonna roll with Nick because he's just way too entertained over there. Now he's probably been drinking because he's in Denmark. And it's later in the day, right? It's 8 o'clock our time, but I don't even, it's like what, 4 o'clock your time or something? Yeah, whatever. All right, so he's got audio issues. All right, we're gonna just hold out. So Neela, give us your spiel.
Happy weekend, everyone. I'm seeing all of the comments, so thank you. Everyone knows me as a toxic to terrific girl, and I talk about work culture a lot. I talk about work culture too much because it has affected me in the past, and so what I do is a lot of project management, and I work with startups to make sure their HR is compliant and put together all of those processes that you need to make sure that you're not in compliance with every law that there is in the land. But what brings me to LinkedIn was sort of like more of a test, and I worked with Tom Burton to be a little bit more visible on the platform. I've held an account since 2015, but only really started applying for jobs, never really was active. There was always the fine print that said, you cannot engage in social media on my contracts. And so I never did. But why would I? LinkedIn was so boring before a few years ago. It was just all very corporate stuff and business-oriented stuff. And then I logged in a few times during the pandemic, and I was like, whoa, this is different, right? And then I couldn't post, but I used to look around at that time. And then I remembered back in May, I logged in and I saw a post from Lauren Howard. And I'm like, whoa, I like it here now. And I would have to say, Trevor, you impacted my journey so much in that you started advocating for social Saturdays. I never knew about social Saturdays until I connected with you. And if you did not do that, I would not be connected to every single person that I am.
Well,
now.
I think somebody would have found you. I think Nick would have found you eventually. But listen, you reached out to me because I had this silly little podcast, which I'm actually going to redo, called Rev Optimist. And you were looking for a place to put Tom. And I was like, I'm ready for that. I don't know. My mind was this would have been like, gosh, it would have been back maybe in May or early June, something like that. And I just was not even close. And because I was just like trying to shut it down. So what I'm really curious about, but that story aside, I'm really curious about your fractional work, right? Because that's kind of a thing. Like, so Tara Trentham is doing fractional work, right? And it sounds like you've kind of got this whole gig down where you're like, I'm going to work for you a little bit. How did that emerge? Like, how did you invent that?
I hated being a W-2 employee because then employers would think that they owned you. And you would work like 60, 70 hours a week. So there were a couple things that happened. I was just losing a lot of work-life balance, having less time for myself, less time for my husband, less time for family. And I saw the opportunity of contracting or being 1099 as a way to work with different people, learn different things, tools, industries. But also, I love meeting people. I like community. It's something that I had to suppress a lot moving to this country. I'm from Trinidad. Trinidad is all about community. And so this is not my network, it is my community. Like, I take it so seriously. But but for me, I'm just curious about everything. So it made so much sense to be fractional.
But I love it. I mean, I think this whole fractional idea, is totally great. I mean, in the US, right, we're bound by W-2 because that's how we get health insurance.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so if you don't have a good way to deal with that, right, then fractional is hard. And especially if you need it. Right. I mean, I've got 4 kids. I cannot not have it. Right. And so that's the thing. It's like the portability of it, the cost, right. And all of that is a concern. So the question is like, well, the first question I would have is like, how the heck did you get to a place where clients would hire you on a fractional basis? How did that happen?
It's all referrals. So, and for me, it's all about the relationship, which we talk about social selling. I call it social serving.
Yeah.
I actually trademarked those 2 words a few weeks ago. I told you that.
Yeah. No, that was so awesome. That's perfect. Yeah.
So you go to work for someone, but it's all about the relationship, and there must be a compromise and respect. And I believe in the relationship. But for me, to get to that point, it's really scary. You think that sometime be out of work. You think insurance. I pay for my insurance out of my own pocket. So I go on vacation next week, and then you don't get paid. So there's just like so many concerns. But to me, it's worth it because at the end of the day, I'm in control. I like to be in control all the damn time. So that's
I don't know if any of us would have guessed that, but I mean, hey, we'll take it. Awesome. Well, I'm inspired by the work that you're doing, and by all of the time that you spend out here and supporting everybody and supporting me in particular, and just like this whole fractional notion is so cool and just unusual, right? And so just love that you're an example for that, and I know that lots of people are thinking about that too. All right. So thank you for that. All right. So Nick, we're going to hope your audio holds up, and let's have it, man. I mean, what's going on in Denmark today?
Yeah, I hope so too. First of all, I want to say thank you for everyone in the chat for being here. It genuinely means a lot. Out LinkedIn because I Googled that there was a lot of positivity in the English version of LinkedIn, and it was sort of an echo chamber. And then I was like, well, who the fuck defines?
Go, Nick. It's okay, man. We're all here. We're all here.
But I was like,
I love it when every third word comes out.
Yes. So I thought, maybe it's real. Maybe positivity is genuine. And, I just had to check out. I got my first few connections and started DMing them right away like crazy. What's going on? And just kept going.
All right, so we're gonna say that Nick, we love Nick, and but Nick's audio is just terrible today. So I'm gonna speak for Nick. I'm gonna talk about my own experience. My own experience.
Can you give Nick access to the chat so he can chat in the chat as well? Are you able to do that?
No, it's actually he would need to go into the LinkedIn and do his chat there.
Yeah.
It's not. This is a read only chat on our side. So,
But
so
we can talk about Nick.
We can talk about Nick because why not? Right? We're unleashing a little hotness ourselves. So my experience with Nick, like just what he's like, what I heard, right? His F bombs, right? It's just like bam, right? And he just, it's very early on. I remember being out in my backyard building my garden shed, right? My garden locker, which I documented early on, and just chatting with him out in the yard, just, right? And he's like, Dad, I'm like, dude, isn't it like 2:00 in the morning or something? I mean, don't you like? And so, and he's like, yeah. So, right, I'm here. It's all good. So, that's been my experience with Nick. And Nick is like always just, it's like if there's some people who are everywhere, Nick is that and then that again. I mean, that's just like every single time. And he's not always like, some of his comments are like, sometimes they're challenging, right? They're like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, right? Or he's trying to push for better. And I do want to call out that Nick is largely responsible for the switch from Zoom to Restream, despite our audio challenges, because of how important it was, like his experience with his friends who were using Twitch and how they were interact with the comments, right? So I can see that Jamie and Suha here, it's Kristen's here, and Carl is here, right? And they're talking about that Nick's audio is kind of right? So that's been great, and how much he contributes. So that's why I want to have him in here, and I know that you guys all hang out. All right. So what's been your experience with Nick, Neela?
So Nick, I think I talked to Nick more than I talked to my husband, and that's the honest truth. Like, you remember I talked about the 40 DM on. No, he is that person that supports me the most on this platform. He will tell me, Neela, don't say that. Okay. You can say that. I like that. And he sort of guides the process along. So thank you, Nick, so much.
Yeah, 100%. Love it. Robert, what you got? What's been your experience with Nick? Or Robert? Hey, Robert, I'm with you. Can you not hear me?
Yeah.
I like that. And sort of guides the process along. So thank you.
All right, you got to mute that.
100%.
Love it.
Nick,
what you got? What's been your experience with Nick?
Yeah, Nick has been great. I'm with you that I really like the no holds barred.
Hey, Robert, I'm with you. Can you not hear me? Yeah, you got to turn that. You got to turn that off.
Oh, hold on a second.
You got to mute that.
Hold on. All right. How about now? We good?
We're getting there. Yeah. All right. Let's try it.
All right. All I was going to say is that I'm with you. I think I like Nick's no hold barred approach to things, and the fact that he is unfiltered and just tells you exactly what he thinks or feels. It's genuine and real, and it's great to interact with somebody like that, because there are so many people that are trying so hard to be shiny and look like some influencer kind of person. And I think that the one great thing about people that you've had on the show and this group of people here is that in general, nobody's really trying to impress anybody. It's like, hey, this is what I do. This is what I think. This is who I am, and take it or leave it. And that's pretty cool. Right?
Yeah.
Because in the world, those are the people that you want to have interactions with, because the other people, like, the patina fades, and eventually you just get some cheap knockoff that's not the real genuine thing anyway. And you think, well, that wasn't really where I wanted to invest my time, and didn't build any kind of relationship or do anything that was of substantial value. And so engaging with Nick and Neela and you, and Trevor, I gotta say, I know we're talking about Nick, but I latched onto you early on because there was a post and you said something about Bellingham, and I was like, Bellingham, this guy's got to be in Washington, and that's right up the road from where I am in Seattle. So I was like, oh, like, here's somebody I can talk to, and somebody that I can make sure that if I need things, I can, reach out and say, hey, how does this work, or what's going on here? And Trevor got bothered by me a lot early on with lots of questions, and he was always very patient and very engaged and very helpful. So,
well, hey man, I mean, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street here, and with everybody. So I love it. I'm glad that you're here, Nick and everybody. All right, so now it is time, because we are 20 minutes in, so we need to switch to the next part of our show, which is the Hotness Unleasher part. Right. So with that, Robert, you are first up to announce your first Hotness Unleasher.
Yeah. So one of the people that I think is doing some really awesome stuff on LinkedIn and that I engage with a lot is Seth Radman. And if folks haven't gotten a chance to get to know Seth yet or engage with him, you definitely should. He's a super cool guy, and he talks a lot about the startup space, and that's a space that he's been in a lot. And he's also one of those people that doesn't try to put on some extra shiny fake patina about what it is that he does. And I think just yesterday, the day before, he made a post about the fact that he lied on LinkedIn, because he says, like in my bio, it says I'm a 4-time startup creator. He's like, well, that's not true, because I created like 7 startups and 3 of them absolutely blew up in my face. And, the cool thing about that is I learned a lot of things. And, from that, I was able to then go and create, better startups that were more successful. And Crescendo, if you don't know the app, the one interactive music system that he worked on, they got acquired by Ultimate Guitar, and that app allows musicians to coordinate and practice remotely, and that was basically invented because of COVID. And it's something that like marching bands that couldn't get together anymore utilized, and just really cool stuff. He's working on a new startup right now. He's also created a newsletter that I would encourage people that want to know more about the startup space to subscribe to, because he gives honest tips and feedback. He's not trying to sell you something or get you to subscribe to something. And so if you want to learn firsthand from somebody that's done it and it's been knee deep in it for the last couple of years, like, he's definitely a person to get in touch with and to learn about.
Man, I love it, because I didn't know Seth, right? I mean, obviously you can see from my screen grab here that I'm second connection to him. So, but I started looking at his content, and I'm like, oh yeah, like here's a dude who's done 40 apps, 36 of which are total crappers, right? I mean, that's awesome. Like, what a brave place to be in, right? Like, oh no, that didn't work, I'm gonna do it again. No, that didn't work, I'm gonna do it again, right? And that kind of energy is just hard to sustain, right? Particularly over like 36 apps. I mean, come on, right? And yeah, so 100%, man. I'm so glad that you brought Seth into my life, right? And into this experience. So, Seth, Hotness Unleasher by Robert.
Yeah, and for all the people in Atlanta area, Seth is an Atlanta guy. He is in the space, getting together with people, impromptu, talking about startup and doing startup work. So I would definitely say, like, if you get a chance to interact and engage with him, do so. And he's a super cool guy.
Brad. Okay. Brad Man. All right. Awesome. Okay. Do you guys, hey, Nick or Neela, do you guys know Seth at all?
Just connected with him yesterday. I was following him all the time. So thank you for that. There's so many cool people that I haven't connected with.
Awesome. All right. So Neela, you are up for your Hotness Unleasher of the week.
My Hotness Unleasher is Beth Henkes. So I did this whole thing, which you probably cannot see, and I took this from Suzanne.
And for some reason, we're reversed.
Yes,
but,
that's okay.
We get the idea. Yes.
Right. So Beth is program manager. She's a project manager. But what I liked about her is she supported my journey from the beginning. She's always in my DMs, motivating me, supporting me, giving me feedback. She has an agency called the Idea Hound. And what she does is she turns ideas into realities. She's very strategic. She's very visionary. She applies a very broad sales, marketing, business background. She has a background in theater, so she's been just all over the place. But she's also a humanitarian. She loves dogs. She advocates for animals. And we also have a lot of creative processes that's similar. She does these miniature projects. I will send everyone the details afterwards where to find her on Instagram. But she's also a featured speaker in the Green Marketing Academy.
Oh, and yeah, I saw that. Yeah. That looked really interesting.
Very interesting. So she has all of this information and all of this knowledge. And I'm just like, tell me something, Beth. I don't know that I could learn from you today. But she's amazing. And I would encourage everyone to please connect with Beth Henkes.
Absolutely. And I'm thankfully already connected because she is relatively local to Robert and I. And yes. I mean, I can sense an IRL coming. Hopefully really soon we can all hang out and we can go Cougar fans versus Husky fans, because I see she's a UW advocate and all that. So it's kind of personal up here, but hey, we'll let it go. And totally, I see Beth everywhere. Like, she's totally in on everybody's stuff and supporting and making it, making more of it. Love seeing Beth all over the place. Cannot wait to see her, come to something, right? Get this green banner off of her profile picture and settle into, really, really kicking ass. And making some money in a great job. So thank you for highlighting her, because frankly I was going to do it. If
I know you were fighting.
Absolutely. All right. So Nick, who do you have? Who's your first?
I have Oluwaseun Oladeji, and I picked him because he pitch slapped me out of nowhere, because he was so excited about a website he had made. And it looked really, really good, and it was super fast. I think it had 99% speed or something like that. And he doesn't have a job, which I genuinely didn't understand, because he's better than 99% of the programmers in Denmark. So why are they making more money than this guy just because he's from Africa, right? I really don't think it's fair, and that's why I decided to highlight him. Because I genuinely.
So tell me about that, because like, okay, so I want to hear about this pitch slap experience that you had, right? I mean, to the extent that we can, because I mean, so I'm a seller, right? And I have pitch slapped in the past. I don't do it anymore, because it is outside the etiquette now, right? Like, we're not doing that anymore. But here you had an experience with him that was Oluwaseun, right? I think, if I get that correct. Where he did this, but somehow, what was his angle? Like, how did he break through on that for you?
The thing that made the difference for me was that he was, in his message, he seemed like he was genuinely excited about the thing he just created. Where most pitch slaps is like, hey, check out this website or whatever, right? And I just can read from the message right away. The person that sent it to me knows that it's shit they sent me, but they decided to do it anyways because they're hoping for a little bit more engagement or whatever.
Okay.
And his pitch was like, he just knew he was the shit, and he was like, look at this, man, I'm the king right here. And I saw it, and I was like, holy shit, he delivered on his promise.
That's fantastic. I've had a couple of WordPress sites, and frankly, I hated them. They were hard to administer. They had I couldn't keep up with the paid plugins. They were slow, even though I was paying top dollar for what was supposed to be super fast. It never actually worked. So I mean, hey, to actually be able to show that you've got some really good stuff, I mean, that's fantastic. I love it. I love to hear that story. That sometimes it's okay, right? Sometimes you can just get out there and start and hustle for something that you love, and make it fly. So yeah, thank you for highlighting him. I really appreciate it. So my first Hotness Unleasher of the week is going to be Carolyn Lawson. And the reason that I am going with Carolyn is because I posted earlier this week about I did a post, and it was this too long didn't read post, right? And essentially I was trying to take a white paper, right, which is really popular in the industry where I work, and because they're just impossible to use on mobile, right? And I thought, okay, how can I make it more mobile friendly? Well, what if I turned it into if I did a too long didn't read and I turned it into a carousel, right? Because we love carousels, right? I'm all about that. And then I asked for feedback. I said, because I just did a few pages. I said, what would make it better, right? What's your feedback? Do you like this? And I got tons of really awesome feedback. But not only is Carolyn everywhere, all over every post that I pretty much do, she actually took the time to put an entire Word doc together of intricate, detailed feedback on not only the design, but the copy that I put together. And it literally blew my mind. I fell out of my chair. I couldn't even process the amount of input that she provided to me personally in that way. So I just wanted to say, holy cow, Carolyn. I mean, that was just insane. And it was just such a gift. So I wanted to highlight her and to say, dude, you are the hotness unleasher of my week, and call it out, because it meant the world, right? It truly did. It was so over the top. And yeah, that's it. That's what I got. So I again, I can't even begin to emphasize enough how that is. I also want to, one more thing. Her original DM to me was remarkable. And it was remarkable because we had a real conversation, and she allowed me to give her just a little bit of feedback, right? And didn't get pissed off, right? Because it was she's in the market for work, and I felt like she didn't have a super tight this is what I want to do. It's well, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and do this. And I was like, I don't know what you want. I can't I don't know which job you want. Here's job A, B, C, and D, and they all have definitions. And where do you fit in with that? And she was totally great and totally receptive of that. And then that has just led to this sort of ongoing dialogue, and which resulted in her giving me some really great feedback. So anyway, she's my Hotness Unleasher for this part of the show. And just want to say thanks again. So with that, that's our first 4. All right. So gang, I want to talk now. We're going to transition into kind of the highlight of this past week. So I try to keep it into what your personal post, like a personal post that you made. But if there's nothing that you really like that you put up last week, feel free to expand out and give us some feedback. So, Robert, why don't you give us your favorite post of the week?
Sure. So I think for me, I did a post that it was kind of long, and it talked about conflict and about how conflict can be really healthy in an organization. And if you don't have conflict, that what you really have is apathy. And that if you get together as a team or a group of people and everybody agrees on everything that is being discussed, then really only one person needs to be there. You didn't need to meet, you didn't need to talk. There wasn't really any purpose in that. And that constructive conflict is really helpful in an organization, and is something that people should strive for. And what you don't want to have is conflict where people are screaming at each other with salty language like we've been using here in the show. But
we're all friends. It's early on a Saturday morning. I mean, we can get away with it, right?
What you do want is some safe boundaries where people treat each other with respect, that it's okay to disagree, that you don't have an idea vacuum. You get together and create a lot of ideas, a lot of alternatives, and disassociate those from the person so that it doesn't turn into personal attacks. When you say, hey, you know what? I don't like that idea because of X, Y, and Z, and I don't think it'll work because of A, B, and C. It doesn't mean that I think Neela is a bad person if she had the idea, or that I don't like Neela. That's not what it's all about. It's all about just creating environments that are safe for people to disagree and to have friction, and to hopefully achieve more because of that. And like I said, the post was long. I get it that some people probably didn't read it because they clicked on it and they're like, oh man, that's a lot of text, because it wasn't the classic mobile version where it's short little snippets and you just scroll down and you're like, oh, I finished that in 35 seconds. This was one that you actually had to read because there were paragraphs. So if people missed it, sorry, it was a lot. But
well, Jamie gave us a link, so we're gonna we all have a chance to check it out. I'll definitely go back and and read it. Yeah.
And
awesome.
I also would say, Trevor, I know you said one post, but I always like the dumb shit stuff that I do on Friday, where I ask some really random question to people that has nothing to do with anything in life or business. And it's just like a way for people's personality to kind of shine out. And what I learn is that people have some really fun things that they're interested in or engaged in, or quirky things about them that I wouldn't learn from 100 interactions back and forth talking in a chat about something that's normal and realistic. So when I have conversations with people and people engage in those posts, I appreciate their authenticity. There are people now that, and always that, when that post comes, they like, oh, thanks for mentioning me, or, I just want to come by and say I support you, but they don't really engage. And it's like, well, what's the point of that? That's the same as like just the thumbs up, right? Like,
yeah, the blue thumb.
But I love it when people, really share. And Tara, who's on the chat here, she's always really great about sharing in the Friday posts, and she posts fun pictures and talks about herself and her experiences, and she's just unfiltered, which is awesome. Like, that's the whole point, right? Like, let's all get to know each other, let's have a good time, and not take ourselves too seriously.
Love it. Thank you for sharing those. Awesome. I love the Friday posts. I mean, they're just such a Friday thing, though, right? I mean, it's like
they're fun, they're dumb. At the end of the day, it's like, something to do because we're done with work, but we haven't really quite started the full swing of like socializing in the real world yet. So it's fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you for leading that charge. And it to be honest, I think we need to sort of follow those prompts, right? Like, for me, it was like, I really wanted to do a show. So here's a show. Right. And I needed to figure out a way to like talk and be live and be engaged in a different way than just leaving a bunch of comments on various Social Saturday launch threads. Right. I needed to get to another level. Right. And this is that. Right. So this is like me giving back to the community in a way by having a show. Right. But then also meaningfully having like a real, here's our V Coffee for the first time. I've never met any of you three, right, in like any kind of a context like this. So yeah, so there you go. Get the prompt, go with it. It's right. All right. So Neela, what's your reflection on last week?
So I think I did a post where I offered a bunch of LinkedIn tips, and this is what I do when I post and someone comments on the post. I go quickly to their profile and I leave a comment, see what was their last content, and leave my feedback. And that's my way of reciprocating support. Mm-hmm. But also, it's been a challenge to keep up with the DMs and the tags and the notifications. But how do you ensure that you're really treating your community fairly? That's what I've started doing. And it works. Most of the times when I do have the time, it works. It wasn't the best performing post, but for me, it's about how much you can help people with the things that you put in your post. And so we see comments, reactions, and we have that. But there are also a lot of comments and reactions happening off the platform that you don't necessarily see in the DMs. And there's a large amount of the community members who are just coming on the platform and they don't know how to optimize, how to do all of these things that we've learned over the last few months. So I like to share that because the way that I feel we excel is by helping others excel in that process. Like, it should be everyone's success. There's just so much to go around. Like, there's just no reason why we should hold on to it. So I do feel like if we have the knowledge, share it on the platform. Share.
I want to like extend that a little bit because I'm doing more business sort of focused posts, right? I kind of have to kind of pull back into that a little bit. And I use a lot of jargon, right? There's just a ton of jargon in my world. And what I'm doing is I'm realizing that's not my audience, right? My audience is like LinkedIn 2.0, Social Saturday. So there's a lot of people seeing my stuff that don't know what the hell I'm talking about, right? And that's totally fine. So I'm having to kind of back into, all right, I'm going to explain what do I mean by GTM, right? I have to define that, right? What do I mean by demand generation? What do I mean by sales enablement? What do I mean by customer success, right? These are things that are important to do. And so, yes, so speaking like to what you're saying, it's like, don't assume that anybody is in the same place that you are. They might be 25 steps ahead, but they might be 100 steps behind.
Yes.
And if we can't do our best to kind of bring everybody up and bring everybody in with really clear language and inclusivity, then I think we're missing out. And so, yeah, so thank you for that. And the DMs are where is the secret sauce. I mean, it's definitely where the action is. Because if you don't, I mean, I can see like as soon as I start to DM with somebody, bam, I'm seeing their content.
Yes.
You know, and that's the chat too. The like, I love content chat. Like that's there's some people who really get down in the weeds in that, right? Like yes. They see a post and love the chat that happens down in the comments. And I'm the down in the comments person. Like when I see a big comment thread, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, they're juicy. Yeah, they're really helpful. Really helpful. All right. So in the interest of time, Nick, let's have it. What was your favorite?
My favorite was the one about the show. It started with the line, busier than one arm quickly and back at the Saturday. And I really liked it, you know, so I was excited to do that line. I saved up for a week or so. So that's
okay. So I have no idea what you just said, Nick, because my feedback. Did anybody else pick that up from Nick? Did you guys get that?
No.
Sorry, nothing. Nick. Sorry, Nick. So we're losing you on the audio. You can. I know. Okay, so I'm going to give you a timeout. You can write it out on a thing and highlight it that way because or speak very slowly. Let's try that.
I don't know how slow I have.
That's pretty good right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like I just went to the dentist.
Yes, to the dentist. Got that.
But the favorite post was the one about this.
Oh man, we're missing Nick. All right. Okay. All right. So Nick, here's what I want you to do. Go out into the LinkedIn chat as long as you have the audio turned off. Otherwise, it'll give us a
back feed.
Loop. Yeah. It'll give us a back feed and throw it in the comments what your favorite post was and why. All right. So, or you can. There's a private. You should see a private chat. You can drop it in here, and then Nick or Robert or Neela or I'll mention it. So, I'm gonna hit my post right now, and essentially it was a post that I did. It was wrapping up a bunch of demand generation content, and the thing about it was, I mean, that all that content was interesting, but the idea that came to me was that every single post that we put out there, and maybe not every single, but let's say a lot of the posts we put out there were reflective of some kind of pain experience that we've had, right? Or we're either in the middle of, that we've resolved, or we're anticipating, right? And those are the things that we want to talk about, right? So we get a tip post. Okay, well, this is a problem that I had. Now here's how I solved it. Now I'm going to share that with you, right? Here's my long post about conflict, right? And this is a thing that I'm dealing with, all right? And it's reflective of pain. And so, or something like they like I really like to be in real life, and so I'm celebrating that, but at the same time I'm anticipating that that's not going to be the case all the time. And so, what came to me as a seller, as I read all this advice all the time about like you got to talk to the customer and you got to identify and understand the customer, you got to understand like what the challenge that they're having and kind of get down with and like speak to the pain that they have. I was like, okay. These conflicts that are happening, particularly in my space, around very specific, very weedy kind of issues, are just like all the time. And it isn't so much that one methodology is under attack; it's that it's just reflective of pain that my customers, my clients are experiencing. Like they're experiencing, and that's why they're talking about it, because there's so much angst around it. And so it wasn't so much to be like for me to be defensive as for me to understand, like, here is where they're struggling. And it really kind of like changed my whole kind of point of view on how can I look at a given post from somebody who's maybe a client or has been a client in the past, or, might potentially be a client down the road, and really kind of get into their space. So that was a pretty good, pretty big one for me. And that's it. That's what I got. So if anybody resonates with that, would love to hear more about it. So let's move on to the next part of our show, which is Hotness Unleasher round 2. So with that, Robert, you are up, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Trevor. So the second person that I wanted to bring some focus to is Yesenia Otero. And Yesenia is somebody that I more recently connected with, and she's just a super enthusiastic and positive person. And I think people that have had a chance to interact with her have seen that, like, she just comments in a way that is thoughtful and engaging, and conveys enthusiasm. She posted a really cool video the other day about a little boy wanting to meet his soccer idol. And, the video kind of stirred some mixed emotions and commentary, but the commentary was the really interesting part. So we were talking about, like, the comment thread. That was where the real meat and potatoes was of that particular post. Like, the post kind of got you started and into the comments, but it was really the commentary that we had that was the real gold. She also did a post where she calls out, like, all the different people that she thinks are doing a really great job on LinkedIn. So a la this show, but she had like 20 people, and she specifically went down the list, each person, like, why she thought that this person was somebody that is cool and interesting and doing something that people should care about on LinkedIn. And it was just very thoughtful. And so I thought that was cool. She also has a thing that she focuses on, again, on the comments, that she calls Fireliner. So that lines up well with the Hotness show, right?
Yeah.
And the Fireliners is really like, she takes one comment snippets. They're out of context, but if you find the post where she talks about it, she focuses on, like, banger comments that people put on something, right? It's like the one where you come into the thread and people are talking back and forth, and somebody hits the comment button, and it's like, wow, that one's got weight, right? Like, so really cool. Just something different that is happening that maybe other people aren't doing. And so I thought it was definitely worth calling out that there's some unique things that she's doing, and just an all around nice person too.
That's fantastic. I love that you call her out, because, well, for one, I didn't know her, right? Now I do, right? Now we got connected last night, 100% down. Like, I love that kind of energy of really just calling stuff out, and even, like, out of context. It's funny. There's this thing called Between Two Houseplants, and it's hilarious. And I'll have to bring up an example of it some
Two
point.
ferns, right?
Or two ferns, or two between
the
two.
Zach Galifianakis one.
I don't know who's doing it. I can't remember.
I think it's that Zach Galifianakis guy. One of my buddies is always talking about it, and I don't really watch it, but I think that's what it's called.
Okay. Well, I'll find it.
People are looking for it.
It's just hilarious. And any case, but this is about Yesenia. So I'm so glad that you brought her into this mix, and I'm excited to get to know her. We did, like I said, got connected last night, and that's what it's all about, man. I mean, it's like, it's finding these voices and connecting and learning and growing and making it happen. Now, I do see that she is down in Hollywood, Florida. So hopefully she's online. Hopefully things are okay. I mean, I know that's kind of over there by, on the other side of the state, but still, not a great time to be in Florida right now. So hopefully she's all right. All right, Neela, who's on your list?
My second Hotness Unleasher is my brother, Nikalus Jackson. And he is based in Nigeria. But what I love about Nikalus is that we connected from the beginning of this journey. He is a job seeker. He is a business development person. He is a community manager, and he's all about his connections. There is something so honest about our interactions. He was the person that said happy birthday. He put my picture on his profile and he wished me happy birthday, and all of his connections joined in, and that was just amazing. It made my day so much better. But he has impacted my journey. He supports my posts. We chat on the DMs. We exchange information about families, his background. He asks for my advice. I ask for his advice. So all I have to say is we need to give the international connections a chance on this platform, because I think a lot of times we're just locked off into misconceptions. I love my international community: Nigeria, India, Australia, New Zealand, Denmark, Romania, Myanmar. I love them. They're like the best thing ever. So Nikalus Jackson.
You know, I remember when you actually reached out, I think it was directly to me, and you was like, you got to connect with this guy, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay. And we did. And now, you know, he and I haven't really, you know, exchanged, you know, too much dialogue, too much banter. But, you know, I appreciate kind of where you're coming from with regard to, you know, really being open to the energy, you know, that isn't in the US, right? It's okay. Nigeria, for example, right? I mean, I think I've got somewhere in the neighborhood of like 300 connections in Nigeria.
Yes.
And I'm intensely curious about what's happening there, right? Because it's not the same as here, right? And yet we are in culture, right? The US has a culture, Nigeria's got a culture, Denmark's got a culture, believe it or not. I mean, I know we got Nick, but you know, whatever. So we'll he's an exceptional culture of his own, but we'll I get that, and I think that, you know, part of this point of the social network piece of LinkedIn is to let that happen, right? Don't be afraid of these cultural, you know, differences, and let's embrace them, and let's get to know each other. And you know, Rose is saying, hey, like Kenya, hey, I'm down with Kenya, right? I mean, and Africa is, I mean, you look at it on a map, and particularly from the U.S. So I'm U.S. educated person. Right. And you look at like, okay, so how far is it from Lagos, Nigeria to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia? It's farther than from the West Coast of the US to East Coast of the US. So from Seattle to New York. It's not the same, even though when you look at a globe or a map or whatever, it seems like, it's not that. And it's about, no, it's far. It's like a lot farther. It's bigger. And so we have multiple cultures within a single continent, whereas in the US, it's like one big monoculture, right? So 100% down. Love that you brought Nikalus to the front here, and cannot wait to get to know him better. So, Nick, hopefully we'll be able to hear you, and let's have it.
Okay. Can you hear me? If not, there's a comment where I wrote it.
Oh, you got it. Okay, got it. So, okay, I'm going to try to kind of roll with this. Okay. I don't know Toni that well. I'd like to know, right? I know that she's been in my world, you know, a little bit. And so I want to hear a little bit maybe from Neela or Robert, like if you guys have had interaction with Toni, and kind of the big thing that is, you know, kind of coming up for you guys with her.
So for me, I connected Toni a couple of weeks ago when Nick shared that, you know, she was going to be the Hotness Unleasher. I've had very little interactions with her. I've just sort of like lurked on her, you know, her posts, but it always just really positive, right? And that's one thing that stood out to me. So that's my contribution. A lot of the people that we brought to the table today, I followed them. So it's cool that we're bringing new people to the table so I can start connecting with them. That's my contribution, Trevor. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. Robert, have you had any interaction with Toni?
I think I had never seen any of Toni's posts or comments until Nick mentioned her. So I don't know her at all. I have no context.
Okay. Well, let's just talk about that then. I mean, let's talk about, like, you know, I think about this show, right? So here we are, we're doing this little show, right? And as my experience with LinkedIn as a social network, right? And my ability to respond to every tag or to every, and I'm pretty good on DMs, I think, but to every tag or to every comment or, you know, to every single little piece is like diminishing, right? Because that gets bigger, and then you can still only do it, you know, there's only one person so much time in a day. And so it's like, okay, does this give us an opportunity to really thoughtfully engage. And I, I hope so, right? That's the idea. It's like, I wouldn't have known Toni, right? Now I do, right? So like, hey, thanks, Nick, even though your audio is total crap today. I mean, we're going to take it. And now I'm actually better. So for future episodes, we're going to test this audio stuff well in advance, right? So we're going to deal with this next time, because it happened last week with Anna, and I didn't anticipate it coming again. So I can see that this is a thing, and we're going to have to figure this out. But that said, right now my world has just gotten bigger, right? And it's people that I was already connected to, but hey, they're doing stuff. And look at Central Washington University, lives in Snohomish, Washington, which is like 60 miles from me, and right basically across the street from Robert. So hey, so Beth and you, me, Robert, and Melissa Houston is actually in Bellingham, believe it or not. So there's a community that's happening here, and we're going to have a chance to meet in real life. I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. So my second Hotness Unleasher is a gentleman named Peter Wheeler, and I want to call Peter out because he's demanding, right? Like, and yet he came in to my world almost like I think it was like the first day of my Social Saturday, okay, and was like hyper engaged with me for no good reason other than he just wanted to, and we had this really great conversation about like what his background was and what it meant to be a failpreneur, right? And what it meant to build a company and like in a big, really, really fast way, like almost too fast, and then have it kind of implode, and how that felt and how rotten that was, and then shared various experiences with some of his different solopreneur efforts and all the different things that he's got cooking. And so then yesterday when I was grabbing this screenshot for the show, and I went to his profile, he DM'd me almost immediately, like, "Hey, lurker." No, he called me creeper. He said, "Hey, creeper, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh no, he knows I'm gonna put him in the show." And he's smart enough that I'm sure he's probably putting some of this together, because you guys probably went out to check his profile too, and I hope that you've connected with him, because he also kind of gets back to me a little bit about some of the struggles that he's had with really creating meaningful connections on Social Saturday, right? And he's found a lot, but at the same time has found people who've just kind of wanted to not really engage with him, but just kind of use him and not really I guess give back in any meaningful way. But I tell you what, if you get a chance to hang out with Peter, and if you get on his radar, and he appreciates good content, he talks about good content, and he makes really challenging, great comments too. Like, he doesn't always say, "Oh yeah, this is great, you're just great." Da, da, da. It's like he'll get in there and he'll say like, "No, you're full of it," or "Really, did you really think that through?" And that's the kind of thing that is, I think, reflective of the opportunity we have, right? That it isn't always about agreeing just to agree. It's like, okay, let's challenge each other. And Peter's just great at that.
I love that, Trevor. I love the comments where people are like, "Oh, this is full of shit," or "This is such a horrible idea, and here's why." Like, okay, well, great. Like, let's have a real debate about this.
Yeah. It's hard to. It's a little risky too. Like this morning, Scott Leese, bless his heart, he's a great guy. He's a super sales leader guy, right? And he was advocating partnerships. Well, okay, great. Partnerships are great, but guess what? I had a partnership that went bad. Okay, I had like really bad, and I will never do another partnership. Or you'd really have to put my head in a vice to make me do it. Don't want to, and yet I see the positive, the upside. And so I that was nice, it was kind, but I just said like, hey, there's a nastiness too, and hopefully Scott takes that the right way, right? Hopefully he doesn't get upset about it, or we'll see how that goes. So that is a thing. All right, so we are almost done. We got one more minute. All right, what's cooking for you guys next week? What's coming? So Robert, let's have it.
More of the same. 1 week bleeds into the next, and for me, like I said, I've got a lot of leaning into schoolwork. So I read a lot of text. I write a lot of papers. I spend a tremendous amount of time doing that. This semester has been really busy, so you probably have seen me a little less on LinkedIn, and that trend will probably continue a little bit, but you'll still see me. I'll try to be engaged. I've been trying to be smart with alerts so that I don't miss stuff. So if you feel like I missed something, you want to talk to me, just reach out, say hey.
Right on. We'll do. All right, Neela, what you got cooking?
I am looking forward to my mental break. I'm going to Portugal with my husband.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So I'm super excited because I've heard so much cool things about it. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll keep the light on for you. No worries. You're going to come back 100%. Because I can't wait. Can't wait to see your pictures and your stories and yeah, all that good stuff. Have a great time. Have a fantastic time.
Thank you.
All right, Nick, you cooking anything?
Fixing my sound.
Okay, got that. We're gonna upgrade the audio.
Yeah,
perfect. I'm so sorry that we had this issue. I'm learning every single week, and yeah, it's we're gonna get better. Maybe we'll have you back on, right? We'll find a spot for you so you don't get shortchanged again, and we'll have another voice. Now, it is slightly unfair that I get to host this thing every single week, and so I get to announce Hotness Unleashers, week after week after week. And we are planning another episode for next week, so I'm excited about that. And there is a lot of work that gets involved, right? So there's a lot of work to put these together. But I got to tell you, it is so much fun for me to kind of continue to push and try to evolve and try to make it better week after week after week, and build in new features and experiment with new things. So I hope that for our audience here that you can kind of see that I'm trying to push that boundary just a little bit each time and try to show like, hey, guess what? You can do stuff like this at home. You decide, get interested, get excited, engage, and make it happen. So with that, make something happen this week, people, and have a great one. Best wishes for everybody. Hopefully the weather doesn't kill you. And I mean that actually literally, because yeah. So with that, have a great week, everybody. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all. See you guys.
Bye.
hi.